I say, v'hinei b'biur inyan evet kanani, in explaining what is the idea in evet kanani in the Ruchnius, in Avoida, Shakla v'tarye b'hagohis v'ha'ores u'bi'urei, kvet kidushas admurat samach tzedek shebe'oir ha'torah. So there is a debate, there's a discussion in the notes of the Rebbe that Tzemach Tzedek in Oir HaTorah. He discusses over there what exactly is the level in the Ruchnis, the union of an Eved. Imzeu b'chinas Rosha v'Toivloi. Is this Eved Kanani the level of Rosha v'Toivloi? Meaning he's in the Madrege of a Rosha, but Toivloi. Or perhaps even the Eved Kanani is a Beinoni. Haniskar Betanya, which is mentioned in the Tanya, meaning in the great level of a Beinoni, as the Tanya describes a Beinoni. Umesayim Shom, and he concludes, the conclusion there is, the Shnei Emes, they're both true. The Eved Kanani includes them both. Ulefizeh, according to this, Chinas Evet Kanani Koi, the level of Evet Kanani applies Hein al Rosha, whether you're a Rosha, Vehein al Benin, also in a Benin. So this is very difficult. How do we explain a Benini who's supposed to be in a level that he doesn't do any sins, will never do any sins? How could we call him like an Evet Kanani, which is Behefkeda Nichalei, which doesn't really want to accept the yoke? How could we call him an Eved? And the Rebbe will explain how everybody, even the person on the lowest level, inherently mitzad is nefesh halikis, is actually is also considered to be a somebody who can do on the highest level, is also can be a Benoni. So we're going to talk about that in Pnimius of every Yid, as the Rebbe will explain now by Arichas. He still could be a Benoni, even though that externally he looks like an Eved or Befkeda Nichale. We need to understand this conclusion of the Tzemach Tzedek, that also a Benoni is included in the level of an Evet Kanani. The Eich Efsher, how is it possible? Shagam Mishu Bibchinas Evet, that also one who is in the level of an Evet, we're saying Evet Kanani. The Avdo Behef Kedon Yichalei, the definition of an Eved is he wants to be behefker, ownerless, no responsibilities. So how do we say that he doesn't want any responsibility, but he's the Khan Eved? He's working. The Rebbe explains now in the bracket that the fact that he's working is sort of forced upon him. He wants Hefkeda, he wants to be ownerless. He doesn't want anybody over him, but he does it bal korchoi, but still, in his essence, he doesn't want it. His main wishes, his main pleasure that the Eved receives befkedechul. That's in hefker. To go after whatever his heart's desires. He's an Eved, and this that he does and he serves. It's only against who he's forced. Mitzad Emasadin, he's afraid of the judgment. He shouldn't beat him with the stick. As explained at length in the Drushim. So we have here a person who doesn't really want to serve Hashem, he wants to go b'shiritus libo, do what he wants, and he's just does it because of the fear of the master, Amos Hadin. How could we say he's a Beinoni? How could it be at the level of a Beinoni? And when he's a Beinoni, meaning that he fulfills the Shavua, as the Rabbi Alter Rebbe begins in the Tanya, Tihi Tzadik V'al Tirosha, that part of it is not that there should be a Beinoni, V'yikayim HaShavua Liyas Beinoni, and that way he will fulfill the Shavua, the oath, that to be a Beinoni. Sharei, because when we talk about Beinoni and trying to stick it together in the level of an Eved Kanani, the Eved Kanani wants to go b'shirus libui. And what is the Beinoni? Shara Beinoni le'ovar aveda miyamav. He has never transgressed a sin, v'lo yaver lo'olam, and he will never transgress in the future. Kimavur b'tanya, as explained b'tanya. So that's a very high level. As known, the expression of the earlier Hasidim, the Halavai Beinoni, is that I wish we could be a Beinoni. Inyan who, but the idea is Shali is Beinoni who be Cholti Shekol Echad Vechad, that everybody can be a Beinoni, even one of those an Eved who oil b'shirus libui. This is in the capabilities, in the abilities, for each and every one. Which would include even the person who wants hefker. That is good for him. He too can be a Beinoni. We understand this also, Shebahashar, the Sefer Shel Beinonim, in the gate page of the Tanya, the Sefer Shel Beinoni, in the first page, Shinyone Teichen HaSefer, the first page describes what the content of the Sefer, what the Tanya is. Koisef Kveis Kedushas Admor Hazok, the Alter Rebbe writes, and the Rebbe says the Sharblat, the opening page, was also written by the Alter Rebbe. As it's known, that also the gate page, that first page, was written by the Alter Rebbe. So he writes over there, the Korev Eilecho Hadovar Me'oid Korev, that it's very close, Me'oid, very close. The matter of the Tanya being a Beinoni is something which is very close. In both your mouth and your heart to do it. So we're saying right from the beginning that this is something which is correct. Ubifnim hatanya koisev oid, and inside of the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe writes further, the midas habeinoni he midas kolodom. The measure to be a Beinoni is the measure of every person. Kol Odom. Every person has the ability to be a Beinoni. So we see very clearly that this is shaykhs to be a Beinoni for everyone. And we use the word midas because to say this is the midah, the measure, meaning even when we're talking with somebody who's measured and limited, still can reach to be a Beinoni. B'hainu, the gam mitzad medidav hagbola, even from the perspective of the measure and limitation. The inyan hamida, mida shaykh loymar rak sheyesh negeder midav hagbola. Because b'chlal, when you say a measure, the measure, we have to talk about if there is a measure of midav hagbola. And we're saying that even when we talk about midas habeinoni, is the midas kolodom, even the measured by kolodom, and there is medidav hagbola, still can be a beinoni. Hine b'chinas habeinoni, hi leferech umedidas kolodom. To be a beinoni is relative is comparable and could be the measure of kol adam, every person. How so? Because let it be whoever Yisrael, the Jewish people. Kol adam ubechlal atem kruyim adam. He is included in the Jewish people, which are called adam al shem adam elyon, because of the meaning of adam, that comparable to the one above. So every Yid is called Adam. When we say Atem Kriyim Adam, we're not saying a tzaddik is called an Adam, but everybody, every Jewish person is called an Adam. And an Adam means that he's compared to Elyon. So the Yisayim Mizu, and even more than this, Kimoish and Mamshich Betanya Shom, the Alter Rebbe continues in the Tanya Dorn. After this level of Beni, everybody should go, follow, pull direction in that direction. What does it mean? Both that a person should and a person will. Person yimshech or will. Basically, a person should want to go after that, but yimshech also meaning that he will eventually follow that. As the same two taichin, the Rebbe brings down in the bracket now, the bazeh b'tevis yimshech. In these words that kol adam yimshech, the word yimshech is beis pirushim, has two interpretations. K'moi b'vahafta. Just like we say b'vahafta, we say you should love, and also you will love. It's a tzivui, and also v'haftocha, it's a promise for the future. Tamadover who? What is the reason for this? The avzeh, for also a person, such the Mevkeda Nichale. He wants hefker. Kenal, as mentioned before, zehu rak b'chitzonis. This is only in the external. Avol pnimi yusei, but the inside, which is midas kol adam, that's the measure of every person. V'acharei kol adam yimshach, and afterwards everybody should pull, will go. Who? Mashahu chelek elokami mal mamesh, is that he is a part of Hashem above, actually a part of Hashem. Okay, psagdin harambam hayidua, as the ruling of the Rambam, the known ruling of the Rambam, the kesha koifin oisoi, that when you force a person to do it, to give a get or whatever he has to do. And what does it mean to force him? Like an Eved. We're talking about even, we're explaining that even an Eved who doesn't want to do it, he forced of him. And we force him, and he says, I want. Paskas the Rambam, that becomes his true rotz. That is really what he wants. Because the other way around, this that he wants hefker, he doesn't want to follow, wants to be b'shridus libay, ownerless. Is das nit That's not him. Kim yitzre onse. That is his being forced by his yetzer. But when he says, I want to do, that is really, we say, that is really him. That's really what he wants to do. That's why it's a kosher get, which has to be l'ritzoyne, because we say this is ritzoyne ha'amiti. It's farker that he says that I don't want to give, and we have to force him to give. That not wanting is yitzrei answer. So b'pnimius we have this connection, the chelik el kamil ma'al mamesh. And therefore, and for sure, that pnimis of the inside will come into actuality. Kinal, as said earlier, the Yimshach Uloshin Osid Vavtocha, the Yimshach is also a language of the future and a promise. It'll come down beficha bilvav in your mouth and your heart to do it. B'machshova diburu ma'isa, in thought, speech, and action, basically in mouth ficha, that's dibur, and levavcha, that's machshova, and lasoise ma'isa. Koilil kiyum hashvua, which would also eventually fulfill that oath that he was given at the time that he was born. The mashbi'in say that they administer a shvua to him. I'll call upon him al ti Rosha, at least don't be a Rosha. What does it mean? The Alter Rebbe explained the Tanya. When we say Tihit Sadik, why do we say again al ti Rosha? At least don't be a Rosha kim Beinoni. So be a Beinoni. So there is a shvua to be a Beinoni. So eventually he will be a Beinoni. Betanya, the Bizeu Gamkein Hapidush Va'achareo Kol Odom Yimshach. After it, every person is drawn Sha'odom Mitzad Nishmosei Nimshach Liyas Benoni. Achareo Kol Yimshach means that he draws after that because from the perspective of the soul, he extends to be a Benoni. Dos, that fact that he has that inside in him, mitzad nishmose, which pulls him, nemti marois me'eza mamer du matzav sheyiba v'idosei, from any sort of standing in a situation where he's standing in avodah, even if he's b'afkeda nichalei, it pulls him to become a ben. Now, a person done Avedas and everything else, even if he's done Avedah, for sure he'll do Teshuvah. Ki bevadai, shegam im tzarich lasis Teshuvah. If he needs to do Teshuvah, so if he lasis Teshuvah, at the end he'll do Teshuvah. Okay, ha-havtocha, like we have a promise, ki la yidach mimenu nidach. Nobody will be forsaken or pushed away, because eventually everybody will do Teshuvah. Because of Achreo Yimshach, because of the Neshama, because of that pnimius, which is always drawn after Hashem. V'adrabe, not only will he just do teshuvah, which means he will not violate the Ratzon Hashem anymore, but adrabe de teshuvah yovel darga nailis yoser, he will reach to even a higher level. Mamer, as the saying is, "B'mokim shabalit shubaim dimeim tzadikim gemurim yechelim lamed bay." In the place of Bal Tshuva where they stand, even complete tzadikim can't stand there, which means that through the Tshuva, he reached in a higher level. So not only eventually will he do Tshuva, will pull him out from where he is in the Hafkeda, but he'll actually reach to a higher level, which is even higher than a place that tzadikim can reach. To the extent that from the perspective of the person's inside, he's always close to there. That it should be in your mouth and your heart to do it. He's always, because of that inside, it's always close to him. In machshava dibur ma'isa is Tomit Korvu Lezeh Meyoit. Korvu Elecha Dover Meyoit. This Befichel Vavchala Soisei at any time. That's why the Evet Kanani can be also called, even though Befkeda Nichele can be called a Benini. But Bizeh Yuvan Gam Benidun Zeh. We also understand based on this explanation in our case. The Av Shevet Kanani Befkeda Nichele, even though an Evet Kanani is comfortable, what he wants is Hefker, Mikol Makoim, Madregas, he Bechinas HaBeinani, his level is the level of the Benini. Ki Soif, because at the end, Bevada Yomer Reitzani, he will for sure say, I want. The pnimis will come out, mitzad pnimis shaloi, because of his inner. Kilo yidachulu, will not be pushed away. It'll always come out. And that's why even he's an Eved Kanani, he's still level, he can be called a Beinoni. Now, Rebbe explains in this Vov how one can come to be in the level of Evet Kanani, of Hefkeda Nichalei, that comes because of the descent into this world. But the fact that the Torah can have this possibility to interpret the oy einoi ela avdi shel ivri, that the pshat of kisikne eved ivri, maybe it means the servant of a Jewish man, but the servant himself is a Kanani. So how could we even say that a person should be an eved Kanani? Abalu atzmaya eved Kanani. He's only an avdi shel ivri, but he himself is an eved Kanani. And this is that they were saying the madrege of this yid is an Eved Kanani. Behainu shetiya dargas avoida. So that the level of this service should be b'chinas Eved Kanani. The befker nichalei should be in the level of an Eved Kanani that wants hefker. Urak mitzad yeridas aneshama lemata. That is only because of the descent of the soul below. Sheyordo meigra rama. It went down from a high step, lebira mikta, to a deep pit, from a very high place to a very low place. That's why there can be the idea that even we should say that he's only an Eved Shalir, but he's a Kanan. The Rebbe explains now that even at the time that he's an Eved Kanani, but he's still an Abdi Shel Ivri. We're not saying that the Gam Oz, even then, Ein Kosal Kadai, there's not even a thought Sheyi Eved Kanani Legamri Chaz V'Sholem, that he's just a regular. We're not saying Oyenei Elo Eved Kanani, the Pasuk is Eved Ivri, so we know it's still in Avoida, we're still an Eved of an Ivri. Chaz v'sholom. It's not ein kasal kadash yeved kanan legamri chaz v'sholom. There should be a total yeved kanani. Ki avdei shel ivri. He's a slave. He's taka kanani, avdei kanani, but he's an ivri. The master is an ivri. Yesh no olav hashpos v'adnus shel ivri. That on him there is the influence, and the master is the ivri. Even while he's a kanani and every kanani, he's still dominated. He's still under the adnus and the influence of the ivri. For all, even one who is at a very low level, that he is like an Eved Kanani because of the descent of the neshama below. And yet, Yosef ben Avram Avinu, since he is a son of Avram Avinu, the Echad Hoya Avram. Abraham was one unique Avram Ha'ivri. He was the Ivri. So he's an Avdei Shel Ivri, which means he's still Avram's son, which was called the Ivri. So therefore, even though while he's Hefker Nichle, his master is the Ivri, he has Yeshle B'Yerusha. He has an inheritance because of his father, because of Avram. The child inherits the father. He has the Yerusha Abba V'Yiram Suteres, the love and the fear which is hidden in every soul, in every Jew. Baruch Betanya, as explained at length in the Tanya, that level of love and fear that is hidden from Abraham Avinu, this influences, this works, it impacts by everyone. Even if he imagines that he would rather be hefker, that he wants other matters. That's what it appears to him, that he's not interested. He wants other things. His desires could be in such matters that are opposite of what is acceptable, God forbid. As ton, he still has that influence, that ivri, as ton with the Eibishter will, that he must do the way Hashem wants. It's impossible for him to be a total Kanani, a total Eved Kanani. Eved Kanani shel Ivri. He's talking Eved Kanani, but still he's of an Ivri. That which means that openly he is an Eved Kanani. But you can find by him in a hidden way that hidden love which is inherited from Avraham HaIvri. So he is still Eved Kanani Shel Ivri. This Ivri is still impacted. So how does this all become for a person to even become an Eved? What is the intent of this descent? That even there should be a thought in Torah to the level of this. Maybe it means a servant, an Eved Kanani of a Jewish master. So even such a thought to be an Eved Kanani who is belongs to an Ivri, Abdish Livri, Yiragvish Day, that's only in order, Shal Yidei, Avedose, Betalmud, Shal Yidei Avedose, Betalmud Loimar, so the Bechilta continues. That's why the Pasuk says, Limud HaTorah, Ba'oifun Sheyilmed Mimenu Ma'urotzen HaTorah. So therefore, Talmud Loimar, we have to learn. We have to reach the level. So you're learning what does the Torah want from you is not to be even the Eved Shel Ivri, but we're talking about an Eved Ivri. So from this we will learn. He will see immediately, and he will reveal the truth, as the Mechilta says, Avkan Eved Shu Ivri, that here too, it's not Avdoi Shel Ivri, but because we learn from the Pasuk, as Mechilta says, so over here too, it means the Eved himself is an Ivri. So he reaches that level, Talmud Leimer, B'shahu ba'atzmayu Ivri, that he himself is an Ivri. It's not that he is a Knani and he only has the master of an Ivri, but he's an Ivri himself. What does it mean that an Ivri? That where is his place? Where is his level? Is on the other side of the river. That's why it's called Avram Ivri, because he came from the other side of the river. So, meaning on the higher level, the Nohor level of, in the whatever the higher level, that's where he realized that he is an Ivri. And also, as the Medrash says, the Masha Avraham Nikro Avram HaIvri, that why is Avram called Avram HaIvri? Who al Shem Shekol HaIlam Kuloi Me'ever Echad V'hu Me'ever Echad. The whole world is on one side, he's on the other side. It's called Ivri. On the other side of the whole world, he is unique in himself. So he realizes that he is different, that he is Ivri. And so he impacts his service Eved Ivri, that he should be an Eved on Ivri. As stellt sich entgegen der ganzer Welt. He stands up against the whole world. But the Welt, Helle, Maschil Mehelle Behester, starting with your own world, with your own olam, with your own helam v'hester. Maschem helam v'hester olam meloshen helam. Where the olam nafsha b'hamis. Kola olam ve'ever echad. You go against the aver, against your, on the other side, the helam v'hester of olam nafsha b'hamis. And he turns it around. He goes and he's elevated from step to step. From the level of Evet Kanani that you've taken from a Yid that Kosalka Daitoch Abdoi Shalibri, Lebchinas Evet Shu Ivri, you reach the level that Evet you're an Ivri. And then later on, the Bchinas Omo Ivriyo to the level of Omo Ivriyo. To the extent that he impacts with his service, that as it goes into the parsha from one level, from the Aved Ivri to the level of Amo Ivriya, in which the pasuk says libnoya deno, so he takes the level of Amo, who becomes married to his son, or to given subject to his son Yoden, as explained at length in this honorable mamer to our great Rebbe Nishmos Nanal, as the Rebbe brought down earlier. This is what we talk about in a general, that there's what's the avodah of Evet Kanani and the avodah of Evet Ivri, but this is really also in a daily life in the avodas of a person. This general idea exists by the service of each one every day. The idea is the bechinas Evet Kanani, the level of Evet Kanani, who Kasher Yisrael, that what is the level of the Kanani is Kasher Yisrael, Heim Bechinas Hislapshus Binyon Ha'olam, when the Yidden dress up themselves in worldly matter, in order to sort them out, and you dress up, that's called the Evet Kanani. As the pasuk says, "V'osis kol melachtecho," you have to do all your work, and Evet does work. That you have to do work in the matters of this physical world, and also in the materialism of the world, in order to turn around to Kedusha. So because of dressing up in this worldly matter, so you have to dress up to be mevarer, and you go in doing a system lachtecha in the gashmi and materialism of this world. So they habirur, through the sorting out, efsher sheis dabik b'hamevarer. So it's possible that the one who is sorting out, it should attach to him in biltirotzi, something undesirable medover hamizbarer, from the item that is being sorted out, the one that's being misbarak. It is a betanya, like we find in Tanya. So through that, it's possible that it should appear in the beginning of the service as the level of an Evet Kanani. However, this descent in the Dvorim Gashmi Chubrim is for the purpose of an elevation. That's why it's just for a short instant, temporarily. And shortly, immediately afterwards, he has cholas ha'aliyah, then it starts the elevation. They say to Mizu, so not only doesn't it last, but it actually brings to higher madrege. He now yidei hayirida nas aliyah b'yeser sais v'yeser ois, through this descent becomes an elevation with more force and more strength. Similar to what it's explained in Tanya. With regards to the subject of there is something that is interfering the person in his davening. So shemehabilbul atzmei, that from this distraction, that itself should awaken, arouse you, lispalil yoser bekavonum, could deliver to daven even more. It turns out that the distraction, not only does it not succeed to distract you, but actually it makes even higher. How so? Because the person, the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya V'hu, she's that when he'll reflect Shemekivan Shakodesh Baruch Hu HaMachaya, Hu HaMachaya Sa'inyan HaMavavli, since it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that vitalizes that matter that is interrupting, that is distracting him. So for sure, this the fact that they shown from above, this distraction, this bilbul, and this distraction is within his dal. He's davening, and there's something distracting him. So it's by him, it's distracting, it's confusing his davening. It's not because this is a matter by itself that has some strength to be distracting. It's only for a purpose, that the person through his service should make from this distraction, this confusion, he should make matamim, aseli matamim. It doesn't say when Yaakov asked matamim, he says a plural, so this represents the two avodah, an avodah which comes from his hapcha, from the confusion to come to even greater level, have a stronger davening. You start by first forcing yourself, not paying attention to the distraction, which is generally the Beinoni first forces himself, even though he still has the distraction, he has the Yitzhara, but you don't listen, you force yourself to do what you need to do. Until he can also reach the level of turning around, which is close. In general, that's avoidas hatzadikim, the service of tzadikim gavur b'tayim. So similar is from this subject, this idea that he descended down into this world is for the purpose of an elevation. Gufo, that is from this descent itself. He needs to arouse, awaken up. Yes, it says with more force. To do his service with Evet Kanani. Eved Ivri v'Amoivriot, the steps of Eved Kanani, Eved Ivri and Amoivriot. Ache Yagia Liyas Loi, until he will reach that there will be to him, Oy Livna Yodan, by the Amoivriot, that it will designate him for his son, that connection. Ad v'yotzochinam ein kosov, the pasuk continued, there's goes out free ein kosov, as explained in the mamer. Shekol zeh, so all these details are generally, this is the service of subduing and things, turning things around that is mentioned earlier. As explained at length in the above matter. Through this above service of 6 years, he should serve. The pasuk says, the service represents the general service of a person to his koinai, to Hashem. Then you reach that on the 7th year you go out to free chinam. For free, you go out free. That goes on the most elevated wholesomeness that will be in the future to come. A day which is entirely Shabbos and Menucha for eternal life. Then there will be the revelation of godliness below. There will be a dwelling place to Hashem blessed in Tachtonim. That's going to be Loshid Lovei. So after the Sheish Shonim, you merit to Bashvi, the Chaya Elam Haba, in which will be the Gilukus Lamat. From of that revelation, Meir Gamato B'Shabbos shines also now during Shabbos, Ubifrat B'Azman Derayvid D'Chol Rayvid, especially during the time of Rayvid D'Chol Rayvid, the Rotzen of all the Ritzonos, which is during the third meal of Shabbos. Yes, yes, the Kasha Zeim Inyan HaMishkan. We can tie this to the idea of the Mishkan HaMavur B'Parshas Truma, which is explained in the portions of Truma. So from this, you can see that the mamer was said the Motzi Shabbos. This was a Mishpatim mamer, but the Rebbe said this was already Motzi Shabbos. So therefore, that's what the Rebbe is also connecting this to the Parshas Truma, which follows. The Parshas Shavua Bo Shekori B'Shabbos B'Zman HaMincha. That's the portion of the week to come in which what we read on Shabbos during Mincha, also Kvar has Cholos HaShaychus L'Motzei Shabbos, because the time of Ravid, the Ravid time of Mincha, that is already connected to Motzei Shabbos. So we read the Parshas Truma. Shein Yonehu. So what's the idea of the Mishkan? Liyos Al Yodei, through the Mishkan there should be V'Shachanti B'Soichom, I will dwell amongst you. Mainly this resting, this Hashra was Al-Dei Ha'orin, was through the Orin. Shalochein Higdim Tzivu Asiyas Orin L'chol Shar in Yonei HaMishkan. That's why the Pasuk introduces first the way to make the Orin before on all the matters of the Mishkan, because that's where the Hashra is. Kipnim is v'tachlis kavonas kol hamishkan, because the inner and the goal, the purpose of the intent of the whole Mishkan, hoya hashros hashchina shebaoren. That was the resting of the Shekhinah and the Oren. Kibur berucha beRamban ala Torah, as explained at length the Ramban al Torah. This is similar to the interpretation of the Medrash. That was brought down earlier. The Ve'ela Mishpatim B'din Eved Ivri Davke. Why did we start with Eila Mishpatim? That begins with the law of an Eved Ivri Davke who ki b'mitzvah zu, because in this mitzvah Mrumezes Hanakuda Pnimis. That gives us the inner point. Shabbat Shal Yisro. We start with this because this represents and this hints to the inner point, what we're serving. What is the avodah? That we are an Eved, that we were created to serve our master. As the Medrash says there, explains there, I have acquired you in Mitzrayim. And the Eibishter took us out, he owned us now. We're his avodim. And also similar to this is in the actual service of Magdim Tchila Tachlis Havodah. That's why first the Pasuk talks about, just like the first halacha talks about the Eved Kanani, but also when the person's service to Hashem. So first we start off the goal of the avodah. Shehi hamshachas hashchina al de'oren. What we're serving Hashem is we want to bring down the Shechina through the Oren. That's why, just like Parshas Mishpatim begins with the Eved, this begins with the Oren. She'al yodei nimshach lasis lois, but it did it b'tachtoini, because through the Oren, this brings down the Dira b'tachtoini. Dal Yidei Shetchilahu V'Shachanti B'Soicham B'Soich Kol Echad V'Echad. Through this, that in the beginning, the Eibishter rests B'Soicham as in Kol Echad V'Echad. So then it extends to be literally resting amongst you in the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash, until resting in all of the world. That will be Bashvis, the Elef Hashvi, and the 7,000 year. So, so what is the work to bring about, to impact, to bring down the Shekhinah? That is to make the Oren, which is the Torah. Through this, the Torah extends later on also in the world. Kiner mitzvah v'Torah, because the Torah that illuminates and brings the Shekhinah down. Light, mitzvah is the lamp, and Torah is the light. Torah me'ira, the Torah shines with it shows the path, the direction for every one and one of the Jewish people, so that they know what they need to do, the action that they need to do, and then those that they should not do. So going through the parsha, so you start off with the Oren, but first you start the Shechina to bring down the Zohar, Bekesef Unuchoshes Geimer Shel HaMishkan. You start off with this gold, silver, and copper, the Mishkan, HaMishkan, and Mikdash, and then from the Mishkan and the Mikdash, so then the light goes out to the world, to the extent that the world gets filled up from this light in an open way. Okay, mamer, like we say, that Asita Yerushalayim shetispashet b'chol Eretz Yisrael. In the future, Yerushalayim will expand into all of Eretz Yisrael. Asita Eretz Yisrael shetispashet b'chol ha'arotzis, and Eretz Yisrael in the future will expand into all lands. Begeula hamitis v'ashlema, in the true and complete redemption. The Geula zu tluya, this redemption hinges in our actions and our service. In the 6,000 years that the world exists. And especially in the work that we do at the time of Golus, within the 6,000 years that the world exists, especially the work that we do during the Golus time. Especially in the work which is in the conclusion and the chosam and the end, Zman HaGolus, in the time of Golus, Be'ikvus and the Mashiach. Everything goes after the end. Through the work that we do, we bring the redemption. Then the Beis Hamikdash will be in the place, the Shekhinah, literally, openly and literally. And with the advantage that will be in this third Beis Hamikdash, the Mikdash Adnai that the Mikdash Hashem's handmaid, which is in a higher level than even the first and the second Beis Hamikdash. Even greater than the advantage that was in the Mishkan. Notwithstanding the fact that Mishkan itself was done by the hands of Moshe, and Moshe's actions are eternal, as we find in the Gemara. And that's why the Mishkan is eternal as well, because made by Moshe. But yet we're getting to a higher level. Through the work of the Yidden in the time of exile. So then in the third Beis Hamikdash it will be an advantage which is even higher than the advantage of the Mishkan. This is similar to the advantage that Mashiach has over Moshe Rabbeinu, the third Beis Hamikdash will have even over the Mishkan that Moshe Rabbeinu built. Then there will be the advantage of the service of tshuva. That from the obscurity and the block of the world itself, we make for Hashem a dwelling place in the low world. As it's known, the Yonish of Mashiach, that Mashiach's matter is Huinyan HaTshuva, is the idea of Tshuva, mamer Mashiach osin la'atzovet tzadikayu b'tiyufta. Mashiach will bring the tzaddikim to do teshuva. So you see that the advantage of teshuva will come about with Mashiach. The Yetzer Chaytzer Migezer Yishay, so a sprouting from the stem of Yishai, V'neitzeh Misharoshu Yifrach, and of his roots it will sign the blossom, a sprouting Achu Molohoretz Deyes Havaya, to the extent that the world will be filled with knowledge of Hashem, Kemayim Layom Echasim, like water covers the sea, Begula Mitis V'Hashlema, in the true and complete redemption. Ba'idei Havoida Hanal, and through the above service, Hine Mamorim, we hasten, Mezarzim, make it quick, Umachishim Eid Yoser, make it even quicker as Biyosa the coming. Shabo Behekdem Achi Godel, it comes very soon. As the Yomeinu Mamish in our days, actually Matamasar Tvachim, below 10 Tvachim. And we will see openly the that the nation will go to your light. They will be raising you, the kings will be raising the and their princesses, they will be they're nursing you. So should be to us. Yet while in the last days of Golus, although we're still the servants of Achashverosh, already then, in the time of Achashverosh, the fear of the hidden fell on them. Until the level that Achashverosh himself, Betzich, he's begging, and gives as base Haman Esther Amalka, Haman's house to Esther, to Queen Esther. This is a very close preparation to fulfill the promise. Then I will turn to the nations a very clear language in the coming true redemption, complete redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu.